Hello and welcome to another edition of Hughes of the World. It's episode 21 and we've made it to the landlocked South American country of Bolivia. One of my favourite places on the planet. Bolivia, it's quite cool. It's one of the 12 nations of South America. We've already done Argentina. So Bolivia is our second country of South America. It's good to be back in a land that I love. We've got some people already on the chat. We've got Jeremy Goff saying evening. We've got Chubai over there. We've got Veg Pie saying evening all. Duke Vengeance is slamming doors and closing windows and turning to page 394. And we've also got Dutch Uncle, once again exactly on time, smiley face. Well, I mean, I'll leave it to at least a couple of comments build up before I start yakking on about things. Well, I don't want to feel like I'm just screaming into the void. Although I often feel like that about Brexit. Okay, so what do you want to know? Bolivia. It is a country in South America, and it is half in the mountains, it's half in the Andes, and it's half in the jungle. And one half in the jungle is very, very different from the other half, which is up in the Andes, two different environments, two different peoples that live in this one country that was put together by the Spanish more than anything. It's also the place where Che Guevara died. Who was killed by the Bolivian army, and who else was killed by the Bolivian army? Robert Redford and oh shit, what's his name? Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Robin Redford and the Source guy thingy. Oh God, this is going down the spout very quickly, isn't it? Someone's going to let me know in the chat in a moment. Anyway, Bolivia is also believed to be the place where the last stand of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid happened. Uros says, that's a lot of halves. It is. It's a game of two halves. Indeed. Paul Newman, that's the guy's name. Paul Newman. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid with Robert Redford and Paul Newman. Thank you. Butch and Sundance was my question. Paul Newman. Thank you. Thank you very much. I thought I'd missed the Bolivian marching powder episode. No, Glasgow Kids. We will be taking a dip into San Pedro prison a little later on in the show. Paul Newman. Okay, I got it. I got it myself. Got there in the end. Yes. Anyway, so let's get on with the fast facts, okay? Bolivia has two capitals because it's one of the countries that has more than one capital for some strange reason. Other countries that like to do that include South Africa. It has Sucre, which is the constitutional judicial capital. And then it has La Paz, which is the executive and legislative capital. La Paz means the peace. It's the highest capital city in the world since China invaded Tibet in the 50s. So, yeah. So Lasa's not technically a capital city. It's regional capital, not state capital. So now, La Paz has that accolade, and Sucre means sugar. So there you go, the peace and sugar. Two pretty good things, really, unless you're looking after your diet and you're in an army. Languages that are spoken, you've got Spanish, which is fair enough, and you've got Quechua, and you've also got Aymara as well. Actually, Bolivia has over 30 official languages. It is incredibly Andy-American, Ama-Indian. Just get that right, Graham. Not Indie-American. All the way around. Ama-Indian. It's mostly over 50% Amerindian people, so it's a very indigenous country. People who live there have lived there for literally thousands of years, even before the Spanish turned up and kind of created a bit of havoc, which we'll get into in the history of the place. Most Amerindian people of any country, actually, in South America, and 80% of them are Roman Catholic, although there are lots of indigenous beliefs, so people will worship Pachamama, who's the earth goddess of the Inca people, because this used to be a bit of an Inca stronghold back in the day. It was a province of the Inca Empire before the Spanish came along and ruined everything. Anyway, yes, and also really good food. Really good food. One of those countries, South America, you might not expect it. Really good food. One of the things that you have to know is that there are 200 different varieties of potato grown in Bolivia. And from that, everything stems. So loads of really nice meat dishes, loads of nice potato dishes, stick them together. A lot of good food, quite hearty food. They don't go for delicate food over there. It's all quite up in the Andes, you want some hearty food. Spicy as well. They do like their spice. They do like their noodle chilies and things like that. They also have a drink, which I don't have with me now, unfortunately, which is called Té con Té, which literally means tea with tea. And it's tea with brandy in it. Which I really like. I'm sorry, what? Azúcar is sugar. Sorry, I'm diabetico. Yes, but in Bolivian Spanish, it's sucre is sugar, because South American Spanish is a bit different from Spanish. Z is pronounced est. But David says, hi, Bolivia, Newton John. A joke I should have made at the beginning. So today we're going to be talking about our favourite star from the movie Grease. It's Bolivia, Newton John. So yes, on the banks of the Lake Titicaca, you can climb a little hill to the church, and you have climbed a 4,000 meter peak. That's crazy, isn't it? 4,000 meters. Lake Titicaca is the highest navigable lake in the world. It's also one of the deepest lakes in the world. But we'll come on to that. We'll come on to that later on in the show. So let me just say, like this country is an adventure. It is just a total adventure, and I love the bones of it. I'm going to just have a little look at it here. So I'll bring it up on the old map. There we go. Okay. So, now I've got a pointer. So there's Bolivia there. It's now in the middle of the screen. So that's South America, right? There's North America, in case you were getting lost, which is the top bit. And the south bit is called South America. I always like going south. It feels like going downhill. Anyway, so we'll zoom into Bolivia. And one of the first things you will notice about the country of Bolivia is that it is well and truly landlocked. And Bolivia has had massive chunks bitten out of it. This bit down here used to come to the sea, and this bit up here was part of Peru. Chile took this bit, and now that's all Chile. Over here, this area of Paraguay, this bulge coming out of Paraguay, yeah, that used to be cut like across here, and that used to be part of Bolivia, but they lost that to Paraguay for reasons that I will come to in the history of the place. And over here we have the state of, I know it looks like the state of Acre or Acre, but it's actually pronounced RSA. So it's the state of RSA. This going up to almost the border over here, this bulge that goes into Peru. This was all part of Bolivia at one time, but then that was taken by Brazil. So yeah, Bolivia's had chunks bitten out of it throughout the 1800s and 1900s actually, which kind of sucks for Bolivia. But we will get more into that in the actual history. Let's just talk about the geography for a moment, though. I'll flick over to the satellite mode, if my computer will let me. Dun dun dun! Satellite mode. Right over here. Okay, this is the area of Bolivia that is called the High Plain or the Altiplano over here. This is the Andes. Okay, so the Andes comes down here, it gets really wide here, and then it narrows down as it goes through Chile. So this is the sort of widest part of the Andes, and as you can see, you have this very differing climate, everything, because you have these peaks over here, 4,000 meters above sea level, and then over here you have literally part of the Amazon basin, which is quite cool. Now, if I zoom in a little bit like that, you'll be able to see how different the land is. And a lot of this land is actually cultivatable, but they don't cultivate it, which is good, because they'll probably just muck it up like most places do. But you'll see La Paz and Cochabamba and Oruro here, which are all very much up in the Andes and cold. And there's Sucre there. I don't know why the words are so small on the screen, but there's Sucre there, and there's Potosi, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And over here, this big white splodge, this is, I'll move it to the middle of the screen, this is the Salar de Uyuni, which is the biggest salt plain in the world. And it's really quite impressive and very cool. If you go to Bolivia, I would recommend going to the salt plain. I would recommend going over to Potosi and seeing the silver mine there. It's been in operation for nearly Probably actually the one that's there has been in operation for 500 years or so, but the people have been mining for silver there in Potosi for a lot longer than that. I'm going to just see if I can make the words go a little bit bigger. Oh, there we go. There you go. I made the words bigger. See, that's clever, that, isn't it? Potosi there. Well worth visiting. La Paz, the capital, well worth visiting. As we mentioned, San Pedro Prison is a bit of a tourist attraction there. Don't think you can still go there, but never mind. And then if you come out of La Paz, there's a road over here called the Camino de la Muerte, which means the road of death, which is quite scary. And I've been down it on a bus, which we'll talk a bit more about later. And over here we have the Amazon Basin and the Rio Beni and Runabaki, which is over here as well. But that's not, I don't want to spot there. Anyway, so well worth checking out old Bolivia. Like, what can I say? It's an adventure. It's an adventure. It's an adventure. So back to me for a moment before we have a look at the map. We're going to dissect the map, not literally, but sorry, the map, the flag. We're gonna dissect the flag. But what I want to point out that obviously you've got the red blood, you've got the gold, that's wealth, and then you've got the green, which is land. Typical things that you normally get on flags. But the interesting thing about this particular flag is it's got, let's go this way. It's got this particular strange, I just dropped a load of things on the floor. Never mind. Move that out of the way. Right, it's got some quite strange things going on here. First of all, it's got flags of the flag on the flag. It's got 6 of them. 6 flags. It's got a llama on the flag, which is always good. It's got a mountain here. It's got these 10 stars. They represent all the provinces, each province of Bolivia, which includes the literal province, which I was talking about, that got taken off them by Chile. But they want it back. But the interesting thing, the thing that I like pointing out about this flag is it's got a Papa Smurf hat on it. And there are several flags, I think there's 5 or 6 flags in the world that have a Papa Smurf Papa Smurf hat on the flag, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, you know, I know most people probably don't care. God, my chair is noisy. But you know, it's just one of those things. I think if you're gonna have a flag, why not? If you're gonna have a flag, why not hide a secret Papa Smurf hat on it? Also, see the flags in Nicaragua, Haiti, Ecuador, maybe. All right, so Sashil Mers there. Hi, Sashil. How you doing? You don't need to give me your phone number. That's going to go all over the internet now. People will be calling you all day and night. Lee Korn says, evening. For some reason, your video wasn't listed on your homepage. We're starting to wonder if I got the wrong day. Playing catch up at 1.25. Do I have to talk slower now so you can catch up? Sorry about that. I think the reason that happened was I was actually logged into the Grassroots for Europe page because what's it called? Account. Because I uploaded the video from last night, from the Grassroots meeting last night. So I think that's why it didn't come up on my page, but it did eventually. Chubai says, they drive on the left down Death Road, put me in the front seat, thinking I would like it. Yes, Chubai, it's terrifying. It was something like 200 to 300 people die on that road every year, but there's another one you can use now. Okay, another question. Which song is associated with Butch and Sundance, Graham Hughes? That's a question from Jeremy. The answer to that is Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head by Engelbert Humperdinck. No, actually, Bert Bacharach. But I just like the name Engelbert Humperdinck because it makes me laugh. Bolivia, very informative. Top Gear was there, Death Road. Indeed. Sashil Mir wants to share a story. I can't call you in the show, Sashil, because I haven't got my text set up so people can hear what you're saying. So it'll just be me basically talking to myself, which will be a bit weird, or the sound will be really, really bad. But let's try and arrange it, Sashil. Let's do a chat about a country, and we can you can call up. Let's do that another time, but we'll prep for it first before I start spouting out live stuff. The truth live. Right, what else do you need to know? The currency is called the Boliviano, which is really cool because it's like the country. The currency is called the little versions of Bolivia, which is a bit like the euro being the country, the currency of a lot of countries in Europe. So that's fair enough, I think. And yes, like I said, there's the people who live there. There's a lot of indigenous people who live there. Big indigenous culture in Bolivia for reasons that I'm going to. Graham, can you do a call in one day? Yes, I will, SD. I will make sure the calls work. Let's move on to the history of Bolivia. So in about 1500 BC, we think some Aymerian people came from what's now Peru to the high plains of Bolivia and settled down to the Altiplano of Bolivia. And they lived from about 500 AD to about 900 AD. There's a big expansion of Tiwanaku culture, which is centered around Lake Titicaca, which straddles the border between Bolivia and Peru. I basically should have zoomed in on that on the map. I might do that a bit later on in the show. But then in about 900 AD, the Tiwanaku power just disappeared. Some people think that it's because the sea level, not the sea level, the lake level of Lake Titicaca dropped considerably and their settlement was too far from the shore. Sounds a bit odd. Other people think that they were attacked by the Aymara people from coming over from the west of the country, so up, I guess, from the jungles into the mountains. Before the Spanish conquest of the New World, the Altiplano region was part of the Inca Empire. And the Quechua language came from, the Quechua, Jesus Christ. The Quechua language came over with the Incas. But by the 1520s, different Inca rivalries were threatening to break up the Inca Empire from within. And the arrival of the Spanish pretty much finished it off. And by 1537, the Spanish had taken Cusco, which was the capital of the Inca Empire. The Spanish named Bolivia Alto Peru, as in Upper Peru. And they were attracted to the silver mining in the area. Pizarro, who was the governor of Peru, who was an absolute scumbag. He's the guy who famously took an Inca chief, the Inca king, hostage. He took him hostage. He kidnapped him. And he ransomed him for a room of gold. And so all the Inca people got together and said, shit, we need to get a room of gold. So they gave all the gold that they had in their kingdom, basically all of it, a room full of gold that was given to Pizarro. And he killed the Inca king anyway. So this is the kind of guy that you're dealing with. His brother came into what's now Bolivia, and he founded a place called La Plata, which means the silver, in what is now Sucre. He founded it in 1538. And a few years later, in 1545, Potosi, up in the mountains, they found a silver mine there, which had been used for a long time, they reckon, before then, by the Incas, but they sort of kept it quiet. And then once the conquistadors found it, wow, it quickly became the largest city on the continent. There was a silver rush, which is a bit like a gold rush, but for silver. And by the way, the atrocious conditions in the mines led to the deaths of, it's estimated, 8 million Indian and African slaves. 8 million. 8 with 6 zeros after it, over the course of 200 or so years. Anyway, in 1548, Alonso de Mendoza, as in Mendoza, he founded the city of La Paz, the Peace, as a staging post between Potosi and the coast. And in 1574, the Spaniards founded Cochabamba, which soon became the granary of Bolivia. And they also founded a place called Tarija, which became a place for them to basically dump all of the Amerindians who didn't actually want to work for the bloody Spanish Empire. They didn't want to do that, so they were all sort of dumped in this one place to live. And that kind of setup of, where things were it stayed in place. It stayed in place, and the reasons for things being where they are back then are still where they are today. There's not been much sort of, I don't know, what do you call it, geographical mobility for the peoples in the various areas. They tend to stay where they are. In general, not everyone. Hashtag not everyone. In 1574, just jump forward 200 years now. So in 1781, there was a futile attempt to expel the Spanish by the re-establish the Inca Empire. However, that began the whole agitation for independence. And in 1824, after 15 years of war, the liberation of neighboring Peru was won. But Alto Peru, there was a royalist general in charge. His name was Pedro Antonio de Olayeta. Olayeta. He got pushed back. He pushed back and said, we don't want freedom. We want to be ruled by the Spanish forever. And in 1825, just a year later, Simon Bolivar, the great liberator of South America, he sent in an expeditionary force into Alto Peru under General Antonio Jose de Sucre. That's where they get the name from. And with the defeat of Olayeta, the battle of Tumuzla, the resistance was quashed. And on August the 6th, 1825, the independent Republic of Bolivia was born. Da, da, da. Yeah, exciting. Okay, what's this? When free message. Largest popcorn you will find. Yeah, jacket potatoes are popular in Bolivia. So you can have a border in a body of water after all. Yes, Jeremy, you can. Don't know how to fish, know where to stay. Anyway, so Bolivia and Sucre became the first and second presidents of this newly independent nation of Bolivia. And then in 1826, Andrew de Santa Cruz, who had a Spanish father and an Indian mother, he became president. And in 1836, just a few years later, he decided that he would like to have a confederacy with Peru, which made sense to them. But Chile lost its shit. Chile went nuts. Chile went, "Oi, what are you doing? Getting our confederacy on our asses." Ah! And Chile basically, they defeated Santa Cruz in 1839, and that basically destroyed the confederation and threw Bolivia into chaos. And so I'll give you some examples. Like in 1841, so 3 years later, 3 different governments were claiming. 2 years later, 3 different governments were claiming that they were ruling Bolivia all at the same time. And this led to a pattern of spontaneous and unsanctioned changes of government, which continued right through to the 1980s. In fact, until 1992, Bolivia endured 188 changes of government over 167 years. Yeah, wow. Cloud cuckoo land. Coup meaning coup d'etat. That's pretty impressive for anywhere. Anyway, in the mid 1800s, 1850s, so on, they found a lot of guano, a lot of bird shit in what was called littoral Bolivia, which was the bit of Bolivia that I showed you that used to be part of. It used to be the bit of Chile that I showed you. It used to be part of Bolivia. It was Bolivia's access to the sea. Bolivia. They found this bird shit. They found this guano, and where there's guano, as anyone who's been to Nauru can tell you, there's gold in that bird shit, which is nitrates. And nitrate is needed for blowing shit up and for growing things out the ground. So really, really good resource for people. And this was in the Atacama Desert, where hardly anyone lived. Bolivia didn't really have the resources to send anyone there to live, to settle. So they paid Chilean companies to come and mine the land, basically, get the guano and, sell it. And that worked well for a bit until these companies got a bit greedy and decided they didn't want to share the money that they were making with the Bolivian government, who owned the land that they were mining. And so, basically, there was a war. After a proposed tax on the minerals in the Atacama Desert. Chile occupied Bolivia's littoral department. Not literal as in literally. They literally occupied the littoral, which means by the sea, department of Bolivia. Bolivia's big access to the sea. And that led to the 1879 to 1883 War of the Pacific. Not to be confused with the War of the Pacific in the 1940s, which is a different war in the Pacific. Chile ended up winning, and it took 350 kilometers of coastline, making Bolivia landlocked. And as I keep saying in these shows, you don't want to be landlocked. You don't want to be landlocked. I mean, maybe if you're a mountain kingdom like Lesotho or Bhutan or Switzerland, maybe you can get away with it if you get on with your neighbors. However, Bolivia is a bit like Afghanistan. It never really got on with its neighbors too well, and its neighbors did tend to, I don't know, I feel like Bolivia got bullied a little bit. When I mentioned that these chunks were taken out of this country by other countries, I don't see anything in the historical record of Bolivia taking someone else's land, arguably. So, yes, I think Bolivia in this case is more sinned against than sinning, as you will see moving on. Chile offered a railway from Antofagasta, which is on the Pacific coast of Chile, to Oruro, which is in Bolivia. They offered to build a railway. But Bolivia said, get stuffed. Not having your freaking railway. We want our land back. And that's why they've got 10 stars on their flag, because the 10th star is the littoral department, which is the Department for Literacy. But they still want it back. They still have a claim over it, just like Guatemala still has a claim over Belize, and just like Venezuela still has a claim over half of Guyana. Anyway, so things went on a little bit. The next loss was in 1903 when they found rubber. It always reminds me of that scene in Blood Diamond where the old man in the village where everything's been wrecked and everyone's dead. And he says, let's hope they don't find oil because then our problems will really start. And it's such a great line. It's like, yeah, find a natural resource in a developing nation and people will die. That's it. It always happens. Always. Anyway, so rubber was found in the Amazon rainforest. And this part of the Amazon rainforest where rubber was found. And as we talked about when we talked about the Belgian Congo, yeah, rubber was gold at the time. Everyone wanted rubber because this, at the turn of the 20th century, everyone had bikes and cars and things like that needed rubber tires. Vulcanization meant that everyone could have tires on their cars, and that's what everyone wanted. So the global demand of rubber went through the roof, and this area of Bolivia essentially got annexed by Brazil because it had a load of oil in it. 100,000 square kilometers of Brazil lost. Of Bolivia. 100,000 square miles of Bolivia lost to Brazil. And that wasn't the end of it, because in the 1930s, Bolivia had its third devastating war. This lasted from 1932 to 1935. It was called the Chacos War, because it was being fought in the Chaco region. Now, this war is one of the most ridiculous wars ever fought. It is just absolutely freaking insane. And you're going to get angry when I tell you about this. I'm sure you get, because if you're like me, and I think you're like me in a way, I think you're going to get angry about this, because I get angry about this every time I think about it. Okay, so basically there was a region which lay in Bolivia mostly, and a little bit of it was in Paraguay, and nobody lived there. No bugger lived there. Well, some indigenous people lived there, but it was very sparsely populated. The Chaco region, there just wasn't that many people living in this area. Wasn't a place that you would think that you would need to fight over. However, in the 1930s, two Royal Dutch Shell from Europe, an Anglo-Dutch company, and Standard Oil, as in SO, see what they've done there, SO, the American company, decided to have a proxy war for oil that might be in the Chaco region. Okay, might. That's the operative word in this. So, basically, Paraguay was on the side of Shell, and Standard Oil was on the side of Bolivia, and they had a war. At least 150,000 people died in this war for 3 years. Vicious fighting. The Bolivian army had more people in it, more soldiers, but the Paraguayan army was better suited to the terrain. A bit like Vietnam. There were more American soldiers, but the Viet Minh were more adapted to their terrain. So what do you think happened? Paraguay won. Bolivia nil. Now, Bolivia lost a huge chunk of its land again. And the punchline? They never found any fucking oil. Shit. Okay, so moving swiftly on. The Chaco War led to instability, as you could imagine, in Bolivia. And it wasn't until about 15 years later, 1951, that a guy called Paz, that's a nice name, Paz, peace. Paz Estensoro, his name was, he won the presidential election. There's a bit of argy-bargy because the military said, no, we're not going to accept this. And eventually the miners fought back against the military. And a year later, in 1952, Paz became president. And he was pretty good president as presidents go. He brought in universal suffrage. Everyone could vote. That's nice. He brought in educational and agrarian reforms, and also redistribution of estates to give people a bit more of a chance in life. And for the first time ever, the indigenous people felt that they had a voice in this very Spanish-ruled country up to that point. Paz was elected again in 1960 and 1964. However, his party, the MNR, M for Mother, N for November, R for Romeo, MNR, that party, they didn't quite manage to live up to the things that they said they were going to do. They didn't manage to significantly increase the standard of living or food production, for that matter, and we went back to, back into political instability. So throughout the rest of the 60s and throughout the 70s, you had these military installations, these military coups, coup after coup after coup, a staggering inflation rate, labor disputes, etc. Actually, Paz finally came back as leader in 1985, and he got the economy kind of back on an even keel, which was good, but many of the social problems remain. The big social problem is this, and it's been a problem for a very long time in Bolivia, is you have the indigenous people who have been disenfranchised for centuries, who have been cast aside as far as the Spanish who ran the country were concerned. However, the indigenous people, there's more of them. So if you have a democracy and you have an indigenous leader, they're more likely to win than somebody else, because they can get all the indigenous people together and say, hey, vote for me, I'll do stuff that'll help you, which we'll come to in a moment. Anyway, so in 1993, the MNR leader was a guy called Gonzalo Sanchez de Lozada, or Goni. He became president, and he began a program of privatization, but it was a canny program because, I like this, being a politics wonk, as part of the privatization process, which I don't necessarily agree with, but he made sure that any private companies had to pay into a state pension fund. So yes, sure, you can be private, but you've got to pay into the state a pension fund, which is for everyone, which is fantastic. Anyway, in 1997, a rightist government, a rightist party called the AND got in under Hugo Banzer. Sounds a bit like what Australians say when they're excited. Bonza, mate. Banza. He won, and under pressure from the IMF, he brought in economic reforms, which stabilized the currency, the Boliviano, which was good, I guess. But although the GDP did grow in the 1990s, Bolivia remained the poorest country in South America. I always make this point when I'm talking about landlocked countries, is the two poorest countries on the continent of South America are the two landlocked ones, Bolivia and Paraguay. Although Venezuela's making a big run for that dubious title at the moment, but we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, going back to the indigenous situation. So in 2006, finally, the indigenous people of Bolivia got together and under a new party called the Movement for Socialism, or MAS, M-A-S, they elected the leader Evo Morales. Now, Evo Morales, okay, I think that he did a lot of good stuff when he was president. He did raise a gobsmacking number of people out of absolute poverty, which is fantastic. Didn't quite live up to some of the things that he claimed that he was going to do. However, he did bring in a new constitution in 2009, which said there was going to be a two-term limit on presidents, which I'll come to in a moment. But also, it's disestablished the church, so it wasn't a Roman Catholic country anymore. It's now a secular country, which allows the indigenous people to practice their indigenous beliefs without feeling persecuted, which up till 2009, they kind of felt a little bit persecuted on that front. So that was good. And then Morales, he got re-elected in 2009, which is fine, two-term president. But then in 2014, he decided that he wanted to stand for president again. He went to the Supreme Court and he said, hey, you know that constitution that I helped bring in? And they went, yeah. He says, you know that thing about you can only be president for 2 terms? And they went, yeah. He says, well, my first term was before that constitution. So that doesn't count. I was on Bali. I had my fingers crossed. It doesn't count. They said, oh, that's a good point. And they allowed him to stand again in 2014. So Evo Morales, I think he should have stood down then. I think they should have allowed some fresh blood into the country and it might have done them a bit better. The country at that point kind of stagnated a bit. He was really good mates with Hugo Chavez until he died. And then obviously Maduro, who's now the leader of Venezuela, chummied up to Fidel and then Raul Castro in Cuba. Very much a socialist poster boy for socialism and agrarian reform and all that jazz. So I think a lot of people in Bolivia felt like he was sort of the guy who was going to sort out all their problems out. And he did quite well. I don't want to say that his tenure was absolutely diabolical. It wasn't. However, he should have quit while he was ahead in 2014. However, he stayed on. And then in 2019, he decided that he was going to stay on again, right? So they had a referendum. They had a referendum in 2016. It's always good to have a referendum in 2016. Anyway, so they had a referendum, but it wasn't to leave the EU. It was to decide to change the constitution so that the president could stay on for as many terms as he or she liked. Unfortunately for Evo, the people came back and said, no, fuck off. Right, we're not having this. This is silly. And so they voted against it. However, problem being that your man, the Supreme Court, if you like, I think, yeah, it was the Supreme Court, they decided a couple of years later that actually, no, because denying the right of someone to stand again as president for a 3rd term or 4th term, in Evo Morales' case, was a violation of people's rights to choose who they want to be governed by. That was the excuse. But the Constitution was there. The Constitution had been written. It had been voted on. I think they had a referendum on it, for Christ's sake. So, don't go back on it. But they went back on it. And they said, yeah, you can run again. So in 2019, he ran again. And the whole country erupted. I mean, the election was found to have had irregularities in it. Morales ended up fleeing the country. There was violence. People died. There were riots on the street. They had an interim president who was a woman called Janine Áñez, who was a bit of a lunatic. She's a bit of a Trump, bit of a running around with the Bible, screaming. A right-wingist, a rightist, if you like. And she was just the interim president. And then the new president, as of November last year, so the new president as of of November 2020, is a guy called Luis Arce, who is now the president, and he is the same political party as Morales. So he's Indigenous, and he's actually got a degree from the University of Warwick, believe it or not. There you go, fun fact for you all. But he's now the president, and he seems like a reasonable guy. I don't know. I don't want to judge too harshly or too soon, especially considering the state of politics in my country at the moment. Chubai says, when I was there, they were unhappy about Chileans buying privatized companies. Demos and tear gas in La Paz made Israelis staying in the same hotel feel at home, as they told me. Well, yeah, and because there's a big socialist movement in... it's interesting you mention the Israelis, because there's a big socialist movement in Bolivia. So they sort of tread this fine line where they don't want to support Israel because solidarity, reg. But at the same time, a shitload of Israelis go on holiday to Bolivia. So much so that some people in Bolivia speak Hebrew. Like in La Paz, you'll meet people who are Bolivians who speak Hebrew, which is crazy. But there you go. There's lots of tourists from that country. It makes sense that people speak that language. Yeah, there's been no... I don't think there's been an official kicking out of the Israelis ceremony, because if there was one, it would probably look a bit bad, wouldn't it? Think about it. Okay, so Alex Morgan says, went to Copacabana on Lake Titicaca, was on a tour visiting the Isla del Sol and Isla de Luna Islands, sacred Indian archaeological sites. After visiting La Paz, amazing places, indeed. So, a little bit before I launch into my experiences, because I went to the Isla del Sol as well. Coca. Let's mention Coca. So, there are these leaves that grow in the Andes in Bolivia, and they've grown there for centuries, grown there for millennia, called Coca. And people chew them up there, and it gives you a little bit of a buzz. Keeps you awake, makes you alert. This coca leaf has got some great medicinal properties. It's used in anesthetics, and it's also used as in hemorrhoid creams. It was also used an extract of it in Coca-Cola originally. And it was a bit of a different extract. Nowadays, it's just the flavour that is extracted from the coca leaf for your Coca-Cola's drinking pleasure. But back in the day, it was that other thing that comes from the coca leaf, cocaine. Yeah. So Bolivia obviously has a huge problem in that, like the bloke says, hope they don't find oil. Well, they didn't find oil, but they found bird shit. They found rubber. They didn't find oil, but they had a war over it. Anyway, yeah, cocaine, which was pound for pound the most valuable commodity in the world in the 1980s. And as a result, a lot of the instability in places like Bolivia and Colombia, and now Mexico, became a thing. And whereas Colombia really did go down the route of gangs with the FARC and with militias and areas of the country that were no-go zones, Bolivia never got that bad. However, the government was always interested in growing the coca legally, because it's part of their culture, it's part of their religious ceremonies, for Christ's sake. They can't not grow it. But the Americans, man, the Americans... Jesus! Can I get the map back up? Can I just get the map back up for a moment? You'll see why when it. Here we go. Here's the map of Bolivia. I'll just zoom out a little bit. There you go. Okay, right. What do you notice about Bolivia? What's the first thing that comes to mind when you look at Bolivia? Is it the fact that it's got a nice beachfront property along here, or is it the fact that it's actually landlocked? Well, I would say it's probably the fact that it's massively landlocked. However, a senator called Dan Burton, a US congressman, sorry, I don't know if he was a senator, but he was in the American Congress, a guy called Dan Burton. In 1995, he suggested that the US Navy spray the coca crops, it's part of the war on drugs, spray the coca crops with herbicide from ships in the sea. It's all right, mate. It's only a landlocked country behind the frickin' Andes, but you know, whatever, big hoses. I don't know how anything works. I don't own a map. I don't own a globe. I mean, bloody hell, it's only 1995. We're still using Alta Vista, for Christ's sake, and Netscape Navigator. Kill me now. Anyway, so Coca is chocolate, very dark. No, that's cacao. Well, it's also cocoa. There's cocoa and cacao, which is chocolate, and then there's Coca, which is cocaine. Two different plants, two different things. It's a bit complicated. Okay, so onward. So yeah, basically drugs problem. I'll go into this more when I get to Colombia in a few weeks' time, because I'm going to get to the seas soon, and I'll do a deep dive into the drug war when I talk about Colombia. Until that moment, I'm going to show you a little bit now of one of the little adventures that I went on when I was in Bolivia. So here we go. I've not done this before, but you can watch it on the screen here. I'm going to play it. There you go. This is Tupiza in Bolivia. Oh, there's me. Now, you can't actually hear what I'm saying here because, like an absolute idiot, I thought it'd be a really, really good idea to actually put copyrighted music on this episode. So basically, if I try and play it now through OBS, onto YouTube will block my sound. So you just have to watch a little bit of this, and then I'll hopefully come onto the screen in a moment to say hello. I'm having trouble finding myself. Hey, just give me a moment. Oh man. There's me on a what's it called? On a horse. See, riding through the Badlands of Bolivia there, which is exciting stuff. I'm trying to make myself appear in the corner. Hang on a sec. You can probably hear me tapping away because things aren't working like they're meant to. Oh, yes. There we go. Brilliant. Here I am. Hello, everyone. Hello. This is fun. Oh, look, it's a giant me. This is great. Okay, so this was on the way to Salar de Uyuni, or Uyuni, as it might be pronounced. I don't know. And I think I got on the train. This was the train station, and I took the train into into the mountains. And yeah, it was quite a fun little place. This. I'm going to skip forward a little bit so you can see. This is a uni behind me here. There's an idol. This is night vision, so I'm probably just stalking some people. Oh, we're out in a car. And here we go. We're going out here somewhere to the salt mines, I think. Oh, the salt plains. Yes. So this is the Salar de Uyuni, and there's a little bit of water like that on the ground. The whole place becomes a mirror. It is fantastic. It is so cool. I mean, look at this. This is Bolivia. Bolivia is cool and amazing, and I love it. And it's like nowhere else on earth. And I know that's a cliche, but look, on the day that I went, there was a little bit of water on the salt, and so I ended up getting these amazing shots. There's me with old hatty hat on. That was hat number 1. I think this is hat number like 15 or something. I keep losing them, or they shrink. And yes, so that's we're driving now along the salt flats. And what you could do, because there's literally nothing you could actually, there's no steps, there's nothing you can hit really apart from those rocks, I guess. But you could close your eyes and just run around in circles all day. Well, that was quite fun. I remember being over by these cacti and Los Cactus, and there was like a rock. There was something that looked like a rock, and then it stood up, and it was a goddamn like I want to say an emu, but it wasn't. There you go. Look, I thought that was a rock. It was just sitting there with the rocks, and then it stood up, and I was like, oh my god, What's this ostrich emu thing going on? It's probably called a rhea. Does anyone know what this bird is? Anyone know what that bird is? Let me know in the comments. Ostriches, obviously African, and emus, obviously Australian. So it's not one of them. It's a bloody big bird. Obviously cacti in the salt plains there. Biggest salt plains in the world. And there's a kangaroo or something. Jesus Christ, it's a crazy place. Actually, 40% of all the world's biodiversity is to be found in Bolivia, which is crazy because it's got so many different terrains. It's got obviously up in the mountains and things that live in the mountains, but then it's got the Amazon basin and the things that live in the Amazon basin down there. There's me licking the salt. Yes, it is in fact salt. I wouldn't recommend that. Wouldn't recommend licking the salt ever because it's got lithium in it, which I think is poisonous. But there's me walking in the sky. Look at that! How cool is that? I mean, come on. This is like home video time. But yeah, just like nowhere else on earth, somewhere you can literally walk in the sky, which I just think is absolutely fantastic. So let's move on from there. And after that, we went to see the train graveyard. So we went out. It was getting dark, and there's a place near the Sala de Uni, and it's all full of these trains, and it's where the trains go to die. And you can run across the top of the old trains. There's hundreds of trains there. They look like they're just chugged out into the middle of the desert to pop the clogs. That's me dancing on top of the train as it's getting dark, obviously. And then, yes, moving swiftly on. We've got, where else do we go here? That's me laughing at the Chinglish there. The Spanglish, sorry. And then moving on to, where are we here? I think this is traveling towards Potosi, the silver mine, which I don't think it's pronounced Potosi. I think it's pronounced like something else. But you don't mind. You don't mind if I pronounce things a little bit incorrectly, do you? No, I'm sure you don't. I'm sure you don't. So I'm just going to. How do I do this? I think I've cocked up now because I don't know how to make. I'll tell you what. I'll make the flag come up. Here we go. Do that, and there we go. Fade. Okay, it's Bolivian flag. Right. Okay. So moving on. So that was the salt flats there, and then we'll move on to the Potosi silver mine, which I'm going to give you now. This is the Potosi silver mine. So this is the silver mine in which 8 million people have died over the years. And actually, I could probably turn the sound on this because I don't think it's got any copyrighted music on it. If it has, I apologise. I'll have to cut the sound. Okay. Oh no, that sounds like copyrighted music. I'm going to turn it off. Damn it. All right, so yeah, this is us getting dressed up. Oh, hang on. You can't see the bloody video there. This is live television. I'm not doing it right. Anyway, so yeah, this is us getting dressed up to go down into the mines. There's Neil there doing a little bit of a MC Hammer impression. Very good. And then, yes, we go down into the mines. We've got on a bus, and that's it. There's the entrance to the Potosi silver mine, which is one of the most terrifying places I've been to, actually. We spent a good few hours down in this hole. I kept banging my head. I banged my head so many times. And even though I was wearing my hat and a hard hat over my head, it was quite uncomfortable, to say the least. Let's move this here. So put that there. I'm just doing some things. So make this really groovy. Yeah. Let's do that, and then I'll get rid of that. Okay. There you go. Got your comments up now. See what I've done there? Right, so this is in the Potosi silver mine. It's a working silver mine. Half of the mine is meant for anyone who wants to go and dig, private people, and then the other half is unionized. So if you're working for the company, if you're working for the union, you get a pay every day, no matter how much of silver you find. Whereas if you're an individual going in there to mine, you basically keep what you find. So you might dig for 6 months and not get anything at all. And that's a little bit of silver that I found. Make a beautiful engagement ring out of that. Alta Vista allowed you to do Boolean searches. Fantastic. So this is going right into the mountain here in Potosi, silver mine, which is, like I say, very, very, very dangerous. There were explosions going off while I was down there. You can see the lift shafts. There's nothing around these lift shafts. Do you know what I mean? There was no barrier. Just literally look, see a hole. There was just a hole in the ground. And if you didn't have a torch and no lights, then you were stuffed. And all along the wall, by the way, they say, don't touch the wall. Why not? Well, it's like arsenic or something on the walls. So if I lick the walls, I'll die. These guys are getting some stuff out from the ground here. There you go. So this mine has been in operation for hundreds of years. And like I say, 8 million people have died in this mine. It's a very creepy place, I think, to be. But as a tourist, you can go down and check it out, and it's working. I mean, people are actually down there blowing shit up while you're down there, which is absolutely freaking insane as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, we got this is a devil. This is a devil. You can see here. There's some devils in the mines, and the miners worship the devil. That's pure alcohol there that they're pouring onto the devil. Let's get some sound on this. This is pure alcohol, by the way, that we're drinking.
Also, try this out.
Pure alcohol. Oh, Jesus.
The hot with the machine, that's why now full of gas. The hose.
That's a fuse.
Well, this is not. This is how everything.
Yeah. And this sound. That was a nearby explosion.
One camera of $1,000. That's good.
They're literally doing this with tourists in front of them. Bolivia is well and truly the land that health and safety forgot. It's the only way, the best I can sum it up. So they're literally blowing stuff up down a mine in front of Western tourists. Well, Western tourists, I guess. Crazy days. And this is all in night vision, by the way, so it's really, really dark.
Well, we've been walking for ages, and now we're going to go uphill a bit.
Yeah. Honestly, I was so happy to get out of this. It looks like fun. It looks like fun, but it was a lot of hard work and it was very scary. But afterwards, once we got out of the mine, this is the things you can do in Bolivia. I really recommend it. There we go. This is us coming out of the mine. Thank God for that! Jesus Christ Almighty. You enjoy that?
Yeah, it's alright, I'm fucking knackered.
And that was the Potosi mines. Now we're going to blow up some dynamite. We're in the miners' market at the moment, and we're going to buy some dynamite so we can blow it up later.
Yep, you can go to the market and you can have some dynamite, please. Look, there you go,
This is our
dynamite.
traditional carbide lamp.
Dynamite and some fuses, and we're going to blow things up.
Just went into the miners' market and went, can I have some dynamite, please? And they're like, here you go. So gave it to the Bolivian guys because obviously they're the experts. I wouldn't want to sort of be doing this myself. But they take it out of the package and then they,
Yes, come on. Material.
then they switch it together like putty, like silly putty. They put it into a bag, and then he's got it between his legs. What are you doing? Why are you putting it between your... Oh my God.
What are you doing?
Why have you got dynamite between your legs, you lunatic? Why would you put it? Oh my God, he's just lit it. He's just lit it with the bag between. It's between his. Oh yeah. Oh, that's me touching the fuse. Touching the burning fuse. Don't let it. He's running around with it now, letting everyone have a good look at the dynamite that's in his hands. Health and safety. Health and safety. And there it goes. Everyone stand back. Killed by the the exploding explosion. Yeah. So yeah. Flying debris there. Lots of fun. So there you go. Oh, actually, no, that had music on by my friend. I could have played that music. Oh,
so you need a video.
And now bloody YouTube is playing an ad on my own video, and now it's trying to get me to. Oh man. Anyway, I've got to cut the sound on this one because it does have music. But yeah, so I'll just knock the sound off for a moment. I was going to write a snarky comment, but I'm actually quite interested, said Duke Vengeance. This is La Paz. This is the capital city of Bolivia. When I got into La Paz, I actually got kidnapped. First thing that happened to me in La Paz, I got kidnapped. I called a taxi, and then it was like a shared taxi situation. Someone else got in the front, and two guys got into the taxi either side of me. And then we started driving, and the guy in the front pretended to be a police officer and wanted to see the money I had and my passport. And even though I had just come from Potosi and I had everything with me, I pretended I had nothing with me and I had just been out for a day trip. And basically, my passport was at the hotel and I had no money, like literally had no money. And they eventually let me out after driving around the city for about 20 minutes trying to get some money out of me. They dropped me off on the outskirts of the city. I had just been on an overnight bus from Potosi. They'd just woken up, and La Paz is 4,000 kilometers, Jesus Christ, 4,000 meters above sea level. So a bit of altitude sickness kicking in as well. So, but I had my wits about me, kept hold of my passport, kept hold of my everything. I went to this is the archaeological museum in La Paz. Obviously, we were seeing a few really cool Inca remains, some Inca pots and things like that. This is all the stuff that you can check out in the archaeological museum. It belongs in a museum. What's in a museum? It's okay. And there's the mountains that surround La Paz. And there's everyone doing a bit of communal dancing, which is really cool. This is La Paz. It's just people dance in the street, which I really like. Anywhere where people dance in the street. If you go to Buenos Aires in Argentina and you walk down the waterfront, you'll see people doing the tango along the waterfront, and it's magical. It's fantastic. People don't dance enough in this country. Look, more people dancing. This is everywhere I went. I just saw people dancing. It was fantastic. Really, really loved this. It was really a lot of fun. While I was in La Paz, I went to San Pedro prison, which is the maddest. Got that bloody advert. Which is the maddest place I've ever been to. It was quite literally insane. I'm about to start down the road of death here. The San Pedro prison, at the time, you could pay an inmate to give you a tour of the prison, and inside was like a little village, and people lived there, and they had kids doing a footy tournament with the mafia dons with trophies in front of them, basically giving out trophies for the kids' five-a-side football. The inmates could pay the guards to go out for the weekend as long as they came back. It was amazing. Anyway, this is the El Camino de la Muerte. Del Muerte, sorry, which is the road of death. And as you can see, I'm on the left-hand side of a bus here, overlooking the edge of this road, which is only about 3 or 4 meters across in some places, and it leads to a massive 100-foot drop, as you can see, and no safety barrier. And about 200 to 300 people die a year on this road, or died, as in the past, because now there's a new road, so you don't have to take this road. It's called the Yungas Road is the real name of it, but Camino de la Muerte is the local name, the road of death. As you can see, it is absolutely bollock-shatteringly terrifying, and this is on a big bus. This is on a coach that I'm on, and he's rattling along at a fair old whack. I haven't speeded up this footage or anything. This is just literally the speed we were going because, screw it. And finally, we got down. Now the way it's supposed to work is in the morning time, things are supposed to come down. And then in the evening time, things are supposed to come up. This is Ruinabaki, which I'll talk about in a moment. But it doesn't actually work that way. Things want to come up in the morning and things want to go down in the afternoon, and they have to cross each other. And so if you're not at a crossing place, you have to reverse. So imagine a bus or a lorry reversing up a dirt track in Bolivia. Yeah, that's pretty difficult. So I went down to Ruinabaki and I went to Rio Beni, which is a tributary of the Amazon River. This whole trip cost me about, I don't know, 20 quid. It was so cheap. It's like a 3-day jungle adventure trip. I was there with a group of people and got onto the Amazon. Well, not the Amazon itself, but this is the Amazon basin. So this is the Rio Beni. And there we can see loads of different animals. There's a big bird there. There's what looks like a crocodile, but it's actually a caiman. That's a capybara, which is one of the biggest rodent in the world. It's basically a big rat. There's another caiman there. These are what are they called? Capuchin monkeys. Scribble monkeys. That's that cute. That's super cute. Fed them with bananas. Capuchin monkeys, named after the Capuchin monks, and also where you get the name cappuccino from coffee. Then say you never learn anything. So there's me with a caiman right next to me. This guy's feeding a caiman. Could I just say crocodile? Does anyone mind if I call it a crocodile? I know it's a caiman. I know, but I'm just going to call it crocodile because it looks like a crocodile. So this guy's oh my God, you're going to get your hand bitten off. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why would oh God. Yes. Like I say, health and safety, not a big thing in Bolivia. So yeah, there you go. There you go. So he got that. Very good. And then the caiman goes off. This is a baby. A baby caiman. Oh, it's so cute. And caimans are one of the only lizards in the world that actually look after their young. They actually look after their young. So you probably shouldn't pick them up. Very cute indeed. There's our shack that we stayed in. Played a bit of guitar there. And then, we went out to look for anacondas. So this is an anaconda hunt in the Pampas, which went on for a very long time. I got horribly sunburned. I don't know why I'm not wearing my hat here. Plus this guy's standing way too close to me. But basically it's me saying, we're going to find an anaconda. We walked for hours and hours in the searing heat through a really stinky swamp. Absolutely stank. As you can see, I'm not wearing anything like the correct footwear there. I'm not wearing wellies or nothing. And eventually we found the snake. We found the snake. There's me with an anaconda. Which is a constrictor. It's a constrictor snake. So it won't bite you. It'll just wrap around your neck and pop your head off, given half a chance. So we played with the snake a little bit, and then we let it go before getting back onto the boat and heading up the river for a little bit. And then we went some piranha fishing. This is me going piranha fishing for piranhas. And you know, the thing is, right, with the piranhas, there's a piranha there. They're only little tiny things. They can't really hurt you. You can swim with look at the teeth on it though. You can swim with the piranhas. Honestly, they won't hurt. They won't kill you. So I was very, very excited about catching a little fish there. I caught a nipper. Yay, go me. And then we had some songs for the end of the day. Okay, so next up, gonna rattle through these now. We went out in the middle of the night for a jungle adventure. We went to find a crocodile, and let's have a look. We caught a crocodile, and they tie around its mouth like this, and basically, I don't know. Watching this back makes me feel a bit uncomfortable. At the time, I was like, "Is this what you always do?" Like, yeah, it's fine. I'm like, "What about the crocodile? Does it get bothered?" Oh no, it's fine. So basically, they pull the crocodile out of the water, but they wrap up its mouth so it can't bite you. And then basically, they allow you to touch the crocodile. But we posed for a picture with the crocodile. There he is, chilling out. Graham, what are you doing? Oh God, this is so embarrassing. Listen, I was only like 20 when I did this, so, forgive me. I was young and stupid. But then they let go of the crocodile, and the crocodile literally ran straight towards me. This was terrifying. It's a crocodile running straight towards me. But fortunately, it went under the boat, so I thought it was going to jump at me. But yeah, bit scary. Anyway, no, next day, we headed out onto the river, and you can see there some... I think we saw some pink dolphins. There were pink dolphins. There they are, pink dolphins that live in the Amazon River. And apparently, according to David Attenborough in a TV show that I was watching a couple of years ago. They're really, really, really rare. And for anyone to get any footage of them is amazing. And I've got some footage of them there. There's a giant butterfly, as you can see. It's absolutely bloody huge. I think it might be a moth, actually. Giant moth. And we went out in the middle of the jungle in the middle of the night and we looked for creepy crawlies. So there's some slimy thing down a tree. There's some spiders. And I just flicked through this quite quickly. Another spider. I'm arachnophobic, by the way, so this was completely terrifying for me. It's like a stick insect. And then the next day, we went out on the river again. I've got some nice footage of centipede or whatever that is. And also, some beautifully coloured parrots there. Lots of ants running around in a big ant nest. That's not a leaf. That's a frog. See the frog jump. That's kind of cool. And that's me swinging through the jungle like a very poncy. I got the hang of it. There. Look, me getting the hang of it. Like Tarzan. Couldn't quite grab the tree. Like a really shit Spider-Man even. What else have we got here? So going through the jungle. There's vines in the jungle. If you cut the vines, you can drink the water out of it. So this guy's going to chop down the vine here. And then there's fresh water in the vine. So see that dripping water there? It's actually just fresh water and you can drink it. It's a little bit bitter. It's got a bit of a bitter taste to it. But if you're thirsty in the jungle, cut a vine with a machete and drink. Okay, so back in Runabaki here. Back in Runabaki. And I actually got on a plane back because there's no way I was going back up that bloody road. I was terrified. This guy here's got he's got a parrot. Got a parrot. Hello, Mr. Parrot. Parrots are surprisingly long-lived. They live for about 90 years. 90 years, parrots. Anyway, so then I got on this Bolivian airplane, which was run by the Bolivian military to get back to La Paz because there's no way I was going back up that road. And yes, the turbulence was almost as bad as the road for going up and down. But really nice views of the Andes down there. And yes, and then we move on to basically the last part of this journey, which is going to Lake Titicaca, and then I'll let you go, go back to normal. So this is Lake Titicaca here, and yes, these are some of my other friends on there. It says Lake Titicaca. It says what it is on the map on the thing. Although you couldn't see the words properly because I had the screen not moved over enough. So there we are. We're on this is the Isla del Sol, the island of the sun in the middle of the lake. We actually started on the boat at the beginning of the day. We started off and then a bunch of the tourists who were on the boat with us said we can't do this because it was so choppy. We've got to go back. So we actually turned around and went back. There's a beautiful llama or alpaca. I never knew the difference. You notice the women in Bolivia wear bowler hats. It's part of their sort of national costume. Not everyone, hashtag not all Bolivian women, but a lot of Bolivian women wear bowler hats, and that's a way you can separate them from the indigenous people of Chile because they wear wide-brimmed hats, slightly different colour. So there you go. That's it, I think. That's the flag of Bolivia. That's me saying goodbye to Bolivia and saying hello to Peru. But that's another episode entirely. So there you go. That's that's it really. Where's my little I've lost where my flag is gone. I did have a flag. Have you got a flag? There you go. I have got a flag. So that's my video for this. I'm gonna just let me see, what can I do here? Okay, I'm just going to pause for a second because I'm going to move to the other camera angle and it means I have to turn my camera off and on again. So I will freeze, but don't go anywhere. Be back in a moment. Bloody hell, it's 20 past 11. Thanks for hanging on for me. Let me just do this. It'll only take a second. I've gone. He's disappeared. Where's he gone? Where's Graham gone? Needless to say, I absolutely love the bones of Bolivia. It's just a fantastic place. I can't recommend it enough. I know not everyone had a particular great time there, but I did. And that's what's important. It's really frustrating that I can't just switch my camera for some reason. It wants to mess me about and make it difficult for my life. I don't know why. I have to do that again. And then, yes. Nope. Sorry. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just trying to make myself appear again, which it doesn't seem to want to let me do. Oh, come on. Okay, right. One last time. Otherwise, I'm going to have to just do this as a voiceover, I think. Oh, come on. What's happened? Why you no love me anymore? Oh, I'm really sorry about this, but it's not letting me. It's not working. Oh, it's working. It's working. Yes, finally. Aha. As Alan Partridge likes to say. Now let's get rid of Flaggy. Oh, let's get rid of that as well. There's me. Yay, finally. Whoa, I'm back in the room. Whew. Got a bit worried then. So that was me little trip around Bolivia, and I'm glad to get to show some of my footage from these places, because obviously I've been to all these places that I'm talking about, and it's been entirely frustrating. I'm like, I've got loads of great footage, but it's not edited together. It's not something I can just sort of put on the screen and explain what you're looking at. Conservative says, why the bowler hats? I don't know. It's just the national dress. Amazing to see footage of the place. Thanks, Veg Pie. I knew it. Titicaca is a tourist trap. Shrugging off a kidnapping like a boss. I didn't like the dynamite, don't like loud noises. David says, Graham George from the jungle. That's like, oh, help. No, not exactly as manly as Tarzan there. We've got macaws in my part of Cumbria, and Avery blew down and they never went back. They live forever. They never die. With vines, you have to cut the top before the bottom, lest get not a drink. Okay, didn't know that. What's he had to like climb the tree? Andrew Ray says Bush Cassidy and Sundance Kid and Where Che were murdered. Yes, they were all shot dead by the Bolivian army. All of them. Bolivian army likes shooting people dead who are famous. They don't like winning wars though. Yes. Thanks, I removed my headphone. I was going to write a sarky comment, but I'm actually quite interested, said Duke Vengeance. I already read that one. Ria in South America is Nandu, or is that a cedilla above the N, or is that just a mark on my screen? So it's Nyandu, which I think is a better word. Graham, can you turn that sound down a bit? Can't hear you talking. Oh, sorry, I only left the sound on for a little bit. I wanted you to know how noisy it was in there. Oh, I've actually got a super chat. Thank you from Cash Dummy. Oh God, love the whole inclusion of the footage. That's pro. Thank you very much, Cash Dummy. And also, I've got Glasgow Kiss is now a member, I think. Welcome to level 1, which is fantastic. And Glasgow Kiss, £5. I just felt like it. Sorry that it was a bit loud when I was in the. Cause I don't know what exactly the sound is. The sound levels are when I'm playing it back. I don't know if it's louder for you or quieter for me or whatever. But the channel for the YouTube clip there, I'd actually turned it down a bit from my mic here, so I thought it wouldn't be too bad. So apologies for that. Thank you so much for my super chats. I really appreciate it. Obviously, quite a lot of work goes into putting these videos together. I know it looks like I just do them ad hoc, but I do need to do a little bit of research beforehand. Adam K, apart from your full on video tour of Bolivia, any Odyssey specific anecdotes from 2009? Not really. I mean, 2009, I traveled through Bolivia, or I came up through Argentina. And I wanted to get the train, but the train was full. So I got the bus to Oruro. And then from there, I went over the Andes in a bus, and my head was absolutely killing me. It was absolutely killing me. I had really bad altitude sickness going over the border. And the border is right up in the mountains between Bolivia and Chile. And I remember having this splitting headache and being in this massive queue of people waiting to get my passport stamped. So maybe I didn't have my passports out for this one. But maybe if I have a quick look now to see if I can find my stamp for Bolivia. That'd be quite cool. Checking my stamp for Bolivia is in here. When did they get this one? This is 2004. St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Sao Tome, Madagascar. I'm all over the place here. Angola. Moldova. Costa Rica. Oh, where's Panama? Australia. No good. No, I want a Panama stamp. Show me the Panama stamp. Entry. Peru. Okay. So I've got a Peru stamp. So I think that stamp there. Oh no, it can't be because that's the first. That's the 1st of January. Oh, there it is. Oh my God, I found it. There you go. That's my Bolivia stamp in there for the 4th. The 4th? Really? Yeah, the 4th of January 2009. So that's the stamp that I got up in that's an exit stamp. So that's the stamp that I got when I was up in the Andes, freaking out because it was so bloody cold and I had such a bad headache. And then I went down into Chile, and I got to Arica, the town of Arica, which is right on the border with Peru, and I stayed there the night. And I got to the bus station, and there was a dodgy-looking woman at the bus station. She said, "Do you need somewhere to stay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And then she takes me down this darkened alleyway, which I'm sure was an alleyway of death. I was freaking out, and then she took me to her house, and actually, she wasn't horrible at all. She was actually a really sweet old grandmother. She wanted to take me into her guest house, and she took care of me and gave me a drink that was absolutely hideous, but I felt obliged to drink it anyway. It tasted like rotten cheese. I don't know if they just did it as a joke that they just did to the guests who were staying there, because they're like, oh, these stupid English people who come here, look at this horrible drink, and then stare at them while they drink it. But it did taste like rancid milk, rancid cheese. Anyway, so yes, I'm going to get off now. I hope you enjoyed your bumper edition today of Bolivia. We talked a little bit about the geography of the place and the people who live there, and there's so much more to say. Honestly, if I could just recommend one country that is really off the beaten track, and there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do that you literally cannot do anywhere else in the world. And also, if you want to go and see the Amazon rainforest, if you want to go and see the jungle, seeing it in Bolivia is so much cheaper. I checked just before I came online just to see how much those tours are now. They're still only about $70 for like a 3-day tour of the jungle. It's insane. Like, it's so... if you try and do that same trip in Brazil, it'll cost you 3 or 4 times the amount. So trust me on this one. If you want that kind of jungle adventure, do it there. If you want to go and see the Salar de Uyuni, the Uyuni, the big salt plain, again, it's like nowhere else on earth. And one thing I'll say as well, it is a little bit like Lake Eyre in Australia, which I've also been to, in that it's a big expanse of salt. However, when I was in Lake Eyre, it was fly city. There were flies everywhere. Flies all over my face, flies on my hands, flies on my arm, just on my legs, everywhere. Flies. I don't know where they came from. I don't know where they live. Maybe they live actually in the salt and just wait for a meat product like myself to come walking through. Whereas in the Salar de Uyuni, it was quite cold up there and there were no flies. I don't remember any flies. So, and it was cooler. A little bit less scary because there were people there. Whereas when we went to Lake Eyre, it was just me and my then girlfriend, and it was a bit of a worry. There was no one else there for miles and miles around. Anyway, so Graham, when is it Brazil's turn? Oh, Brazil, soon. I haven't quite worked out when that's going to be, but I will work out when it's going to be. But next week, we are heading to Bosnia and Herzegovina in the former Yugoslavia. Back to Europe for our next edition. I like doing it in alphabetical order because you jump around the world quite a lot, so the episodes are quite different back to back. So yes, we're heading to B for Bolivia, and then I think the week after that we will be going to B for Botswana, which is another one of my favorite countries. It's a fantastic country, Botswana. So I might dig out some footage of Bolivia, because I do have footage of Bolivia on YouTube. Bolivia. Take two. Start again, shall we? I might have some Bolivia. I might have some footage of Bosnia online. I've got some footage of that. So I'll do the same thing. I'll try and set it up so the transitions are a little bit smoother. But we'll do the thing where we go through the footage and show. I went to Mostar and I went to Sarajevo. And it's really cool places. Really cool places. Okay, so I am going to head off now. Thank you very much for watching. Check out Mark Steele's in town Stockport. I like Mark Steele. He's very funny. Yes, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for the super chats. They keep me going. If you would like to become a Patreon, if you're not already, head over to patreon.com/thatgingerscouser. Alternatively, you can become a member of my YouTube channel, and eventually we're going to have exclusive screenings of stuff that no one else is going to be able to see except for my patrons and my members. Until next time, I'm going to say I'll be back tomorrow at 1 o'clock for Hughes round, the last Hughes round of the week. And until then, thanks for watching, and I'll leave you with a list of my patrons. And thanks to Thomas Mulcahy. Am I saying that right? Thomas Mulcahy, who's given, I want to say Czech francs, but I think that's Swiss francs. So thank you very much for all the Swiss francs. 5 Swiss francs there on the old super chat. Night all, night Lee Corn, night Thomas, night Jeremy, night Conservator and Veg Pie. And everybody else, isn't Bosnia-Herzegovina also landlocked? No! Neum. There's a place called Neum. Check it out on the map. It is not landlocked. Oh, by the way, one thing I want to say about Bolivia before I forget, because I always do this. I finish the show and then I'm like, oh, shit, forgot to tell them about this thing. Actually, Peru is Bolivia's Betty to a large degree, and Peru actually allow Bolivia to use a port down the south of Peru. They allow them to use that port with no export fees, tariffs, or anything like that. It's a free port that they can use. Well, it's not a free port, but it's a port that Bolivia can use for access to the sea. And they have a road that goes down to it. So if Bolivia do need to get to and from the ocean, they can do, but it's based on the kindness of Peru, which is another great country that I can't recommend enough. I just love countries. I just love this planet. It's just such a cool place. Except England at the moment sucks. But, that's not your fault. Until next time, thanks for watching, and fair winds and following seas, traveller. And I know the show's finished, but I just want to pick up on something that Alex Morgan's just asked. Yes, they do have a navy. It operates on Lake Titicaca, and in some of the rivers, it does have a navy. So that's it. Thank you and good night.